How'd you like to listen to .NET Rocks with no ads? Easy. Become a patron. For just $5 a month, you get access to a private RSS feed where all the shows have no ads. $20 a month will get you that and a special .NET Rocks patron mug. Sign up now at patreon.netrocks.com.
Hey, Carl and Richard here with your 2024 NDC schedule.
We'll be at as many NDC conferences as possible this year, and you should consider attending no matter what. The Copenhagen Developers Festival happens August 26th through the 30th. Tickets at cphdevfest.com.
NDC Porto is happening October 14th through the 18th. Tickets at ndcporto.com.
We'll see you there. We hope. It's .NET Rocks.
Look at you.
I scared you, didn't I?
I was listening to John Cleary the other day.
He's so good.
The absolute monster gentleman.
He is so good. God, I love that guy. Anyway, you're listening to .NET Rocks. I'm Carl Franklin.
And I'm Richard Campbell.
And we're here for the 1911th time.
There you go.
1911th time? Yeah. So
So
it's going to be a good show.
World War I has begun. There you go.
Yeah. Archduke Ferdinand has been assassinated.
Yes, after several tries. And then he kept going out again. Like, what were you thinking? Well, doesn't matter now. Here's a grenade.
Oh, such fun with history we have. Let's start this show off right with Better Know a Framework. Roll the music.
Awesome. All right, man, what do you got?
This is my official first announcement of an album with only 5 tracks that I have kept under wraps since 2013.
Wow.
I've just been waiting for the right time to release it.
You haven't told me.
No, but I think you might have heard it. So this is an album of instrumental groove, chill, jazz pop that I did with my friend Doug Wolverton.
Oh, wow. Okay. I know Doug.
You've heard these songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
So Doug is a trumpet player. Mm-hmm. He's currently playing with Kenny Wayne Shepherd on tour. And he's a protege of Kurt Ram, who plays with Bruce Springsteen in the E Street Band. And Kurt actually connected us, and we've been great friends ever since. Doug's played on my albums and my videos, and you could see him at franklinbrothersband.com on a couple of videos. But anyway, we got together for about a year and a half there, and we just started making music. And this is I'm not just saying this. This is my favorite project that I've ever been involved with, produced, written. All the music is just like, it's all original. You think you've heard it before when you listen to it. And the name of the album is It's the Tone.
That's cool.
It's the Tone. And the artist is Franklin and Wolverton.
Nice.
It is available everywhere you get your music, or it will be by the time this comes out.
Okay.
So Spotify.
So you finished your
Amazon.
production work now? You're
well, the production work was done. Really.
Right.
I've just been sitting on it and waiting for the right time, and I released it on my 57th birthday.
Oh wow!
Because that is my father's 57 when he died. So this is a special year for me.
That's pretty cool.
To survive. And so when we were making this music, and I'm sorry to just keep going on about it, but the mantra for us was not listen to these notes, right? Which a lot of music and musicians and performers, they have that in their mind. Hey, check out these notes that I played. But it's listen to this tone. It's all about the tone. So it's the tone. Go get it and let me know what you think of it, everybody. Send me some email. That's it. That's what I got.
Cool. All right. We'll put the link in the show notes when there's a link available.
Yeah, there will be. It's thetone.com will be available, but you could just, search your favorite music solution for that. Who's talking to us today, Richard?
I grabbed a comment off a show 1906, just back in July. We were talking to Joe Finney about WPF. This particular comment is from John Dyer. This is only a little while ago, where he said, "Desktop is dead. Is it true? It really seems so." And Richard almost said so on the Bowie Blazor show back in 1903. And again, in this show, it's danced around. I worked on a .NET app, started in the very beginning, shipped on 1.0. It was a fun mix of WinForms and WPF with the new UI in WPF. I don't think it was WPF in 1.0. That wasn't around till 3.5, but details. Did we make a big mistake migrating to .NET Core? Because now we're forced into the upgrades as versions go end of life. Additionally, stuff that was automatically patched is now in packages, forcing us to release new versions for code changes in our hours, mainly if it's security related. Okay, I'm done whining. It's been a fantastic ride. Time to move on. I mean, I've been dancing around the issues with desktop apps because I don't believe they're dead. They might be pining for the fjords.
There's just something I got to say here. Yeah. We have gone out of our way to avoid saying, never use this. It's dead. Yeah. Don't use that. Use this instead. We don't do that here.
No,
that's not what we do. We don't even, if you think that we're hinting at that, you're wrong.
Yeah, it's not what we mean. Maybe we're not communicating well.
That's not what we mean. Yeah, exactly.
But okay. I mean, what I'm abundantly aware of, and I've done it on the show, and you've seen me do it, is that there is a whole bunch of different desktop tool sets out there, which to me says it's an unsolved problem. Nobody would bother making an Avalonia or the Silverlight as a WebAssembly solution, OpenSilver. Why would all of this exist except that people are trying to find a good way to build desktop apps? Microsoft wants it to be Maui, but Maui's still growing up. It's still a little kid, really. And certainly they've seemed to have consolidated a bunch of stuff around that, which is interesting. But it's bloody challenging. And when I wear my IT hat, I'm the guy who looks at you when you want to deploy software and says, you want to do what? Because browsers are a good security context. So I know the barriers for deploying software is hard. You got to really demonstrate a reason for software to be built that way.
And we said this on that show. We said it a couple of times that the browsers have already figured all this stuff out, right?
Well, a lot of stuff. They're also bad at some important things too.
Yeah. But they're at least consistent across the main three browsers, I think.
Especially when you're talking about running on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Which is the real life that we're living in today, right? Like, it's a heterogeneous client world. And then building multiple clients is hard, which I think is going to lead us to our conversation today. When I think about no-code, low-code solutions, it's about solving client problems. We'll get into that. So, John, I hope it cleared some things up for you. Thanks so much for your comment. And a copy of Music to Code By is on its way to you. And if you'd like a copy of Music to Code By, write a comment on the website at .netrocks.com or on the Facebooks. We publish every show there. And if you comment there and I read it in the show, we'll send you a copy of Music to Code By.
And people are still buying Music to Code By. And it's great. I see, orders come in every day or so, a couple of days.
I sent out a winner pack the other day, and I got a message back a little while later. He's like, I already had the first 8, but I like the new ones. So they were excited to use it.
Very good.
It's good.
All right. Well, you can follow us on Twitter, or X Twitter, I think is what I call it now. X Twitter, because it was Twitter, and now it's not. It's something else. And we've been there for years, of course, but the cool kids are hanging out on Mastodon. I'm at Carl Franklin at techhub.social.
And I'm Rich Campbell at mastodon.social.
Send us a toot. That's another way that you can get yourself a copy of Music to Code By.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's bring on our guest, seasoned software developer, architect, and entrepreneur with a quarter-century of experience building large-scale enterprise applications for major telecommunications and transportation companies with .NET, Java, and TypeScript. Serge Sarafudinov is the creative mind between Xomega.net. That's Xomega.net, Xomega.net, a low-code platform for .NET developers, and the open-source Xomega framework. Off the clock, you can find him across the net developing his backhand and forehand and serving up aces on the tennis court. That's a very nice bio. Very good. Welcome, Sergey.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for inviting me here. I've been a long-time listener of the show, and now it's an honor to be a guest here.
You're welcome. When I think about what's on the minds of our listeners when we talk about low-code or no-code stuff, a lot of them are our age, And by our, I mean Richard's and my. You look a little younger than us, but that's neither here nor there. And they've been through a lot of these things. And I think people are rightly skeptical of these, especially when you think of our experience has been, we jump in, we're very productive, we get going, and then, we want to modify something. Oh, does it allow me to? No. Now what do we do? So hitting that brick wall is what I think everyone is afraid of. So with that in mind, the floor is yours. Give us the pitch.
Well, when you ask Silicon Valley entrepreneur like why they're building their product, oftentimes you might get an answer to make the world a better place. With Xomega, I would say that we want to make the world a better place for .NET developers and their happy clients.
Very good.
And
let's face it, really, Silicon Valley doesn't want to make the world a better place. They want their bank accounts to be a better
place.
Better place. That's really what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
With other tools, there are a lot of other tools and low-code platforms that try to help you build your applications faster. What Xomega tries to do is to help you build faster, high-quality applications with the best practice architecture, with a consistent user interface and user experience, and they're easy to maintain and get that, future-proof so that you can easily change it, and migrate to a new framework or technology once that comes along. And given the current pace of technology, like if you start a new project, a big, large project, multi-year, with a brand new framework, brand new technology, cutting edge, by the time you finish it, sometimes this framework is already obsolete. It's already, history. So
does Xomega use sort of black box things, or is it a code generator, or a little of both? Like I'm more on the side of code generation because then I can at least look at that code, see it, modify it, put in my points wherever I want. What's the experience like?
Yeah, this is a code generator. It generates code, but like the typical code generator, like there are source generators, they generate code that's not user friendly. You don't want to read that. You don't want to. You can go and debug it. If you want.
It's write only code, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's basically a pile of gibberish that you don't want to look at.
Right.
What we do here is the code it generates is basically the code you would have written yourself, down to even like the comments. It has the comments structured. It's formatted. Like this is basically saving you from writing that code, like the boilerplate code, as they call.
So, and then that means I can edit it because I can probably read it. But does that mean it's no longer manageable? Like, what happens now?
Yeah, that's a major question. Once you generate it, can you touch it?
Yeah.
And the question, the answer is no. Generally, you don't want to edit it.
Right. Because you do want to be able to regenerate. So
yes, exactly. The idea behind it is that it's designed in such a way that it provides customization points for you. You can subclass, override any methods. You can even insert your code in certain places, like to customize it.
Right.
That's what I wanted to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you will,
because a perfect example is if it's creating an API controller, right, and it's injecting all the stuff, but you want to inject something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now you've changed it. How do you do that?
Yeah, that's the kicker. Like you want to be able to regenerate, like make changes, and that's going to be so easy on the maintenance then, because you can just go and change the underlying model that it's generated from.
I see. And then regenerate. So it's not like you're messing around with the code at all. You're still working with the model in the code generator, but you can do, can I say anything that you can do in code with the model generator?
Pretty much, yes. I mean, sometimes like with the UI views that you generate, you want to change the layout completely, and you can just, say, okay, I'm going to take over that file. And
there's architecture issues too, right? I mean, if you start out with a client project and a server project, a web project, let's just say, and then you want to sort of to put a shared project in between those that has some models or some things that do stuff. Is that something that you can easily modify in your model designer?
Yes. The model allows you to change, actually it makes you kind of like model your application. Like you build your domain models, you build your service models.
Yeah.
Even the presentation models. And that's all like in XML. I know Carl's feelings about XML, but
hey, as long as I don't have to edit it, I'm fine. Yeah.
You can generate all the XML you want. As long as I don't have to read it, I'm happy.
Yeah, I can use your UI to do that, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's still nice. It's an experience for developers to update the models.
Right.
But then you generate pretty much like the entire applications, like all the layers from the business services to like interfaces, view models, views. And you can do like tons of other things, that you can generate. It's extensible. So you can bring more generators to generate.
So you really focus on the architecture and let the model do the dirty work, the model designer.
Yes. And the idea behind the platform is that it will allow you to generate, to use the architecture with the best practice development practices.
Okay.
Baked into the development process.
So it's opinionated.
So,
yeah.
I mean, separating business logic from the UI logic, it's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, I didn't say it was bad opinion.
People have been moving to like multi-tier applications back in last century. And there was service-oriented architecture.
Oh, yeah.
Domain-driven design.
Welcome to the history of .NET right here.
Yeah.
Lean architecture, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And these are all good best practices as long as you follow them.
Right. Don't get technical now. We waved at it, at least.
Yes. But oftentimes what happens is like, as a developer, you get a request to like build a new application. You start with a prototype, build like a proof of concept. You go quick and dirty, and then you work on this demo, try to make it realistic. And then the demo goes well, in fact, so well that people, the stakeholders, don't even realize that it's not a real thing.
It's a demo. Yeah, no, they want to deploy it.
Yep.
And then when you come back to them, like asking like, all right, we need, the big budget, for actually doing it properly, they would say like, what do you mean?
I already saw the demo. It's done.
It's already working. Yeah. Like it's there. We've seen it working, like you just fix the rough edges and, and that's how a lot of projects end up being. Because, I mean, maybe you'd be okay if you just hand it over to someone else, and make it someone else's problem. But this is just going to be turning over technical debt.
Right.
And the technical debt will come due fast. Because the maintenance will become a nightmare. The changing the architecture will be next to impossible.
Yeah.
Migrating to a new UI framework will be problematic if the business logic is mixed in with the UI logic.
Right.
So you may end up having to do the full rewrite if you need to modernize your system down the road. And I guess the issues with using the best practices is that people need to have some learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have knowledgeable developers that are familiar with the best practices. There is sometimes too much ceremony, with all these interfaces that you have to build, and implementations and everything. And that eventually is the upfront investment that, business needs to make. And sometimes they are not willing to. And Xomega is trying to alleviate that and bake in, the best practices at the fraction of the cost by enforcing these architectural principles and generating, all the code for you, so you don't have to manually maintain all the interfaces and stuff.
So can I ask about the different types of .NET projects that you can create? Is it all core only, or do you also support .NET Framework apps?
No, it's actually, it can do anything. Like,
Really?
We started it long time ago, and it actually held well, over the years. We can talk about the history, of how it came to be, but
I think anything pretty much covers it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it'll generate a Python app? Is that what you're saying? Anything?
Well, it can if need to, but we have a generate TypeScript.
Okay. So fully web if you want to go that way.
Yeah, you can do anything. We just happen to use .NET, and we have the .NET framework that is the most advanced there.
So what clients can you produce for me?
Right now, it supports from WPF, Web Forms,
ASP.NET.
ASP.NET.
Blazor, I saw.
The SPA applications, like with the TypeScript.
Yeah.
Blazor server and Blazor WebAssembly, and the unified Blazor.
All right. So here's the question that might stump you. Maybe I'm hoping it doesn't. Authentication, authorization, and the various models and scenarios with which you can do that. Are they all supported?
Yes. Not, well, when you say all, no, that's a big statement.
Okay. Well, you have the individual accounts using Microsoft Core Identity. You have Identity Server that can put itself in there sometimes. You've got MSAL. You've got, what do they call Azure B2B now? Azure AD B2B.
Entra?
Entra, yeah.
Entra, yes.
Yes. So all of those things. And then you got OIDC, and you've got Open Connect, and you got all these protocols and things. Are you wizarding that for me so I don't have to know all the details of these things? Are you helping me get the stuff that I need to have in place?
Yes. So Xomega .NET is a Visual Studio extension.
Okay.
And it has a project template for creating a new solution, where you have a wizard that allows you to pick which architecture you want to use.
Yeah.
And the initial solution template that it generates now for Blazor, and I think other solutions as well, include the authentication and authorization support, like out of the box. It's the default is the user and password. Just to get something started. But there is obviously if you have services hosted like as a REST API or a JWT token, there is if you use a different communication technology like WCF, they have their own like identity model that needs, the authentication. And there is the Blazor server is a little different because it's like all server side, but there is a, signal or circuits running, and it's not easy to set the cookies, like the authentication cookies, and send it back to the client. But we actually solve that so that you can build the same login experience, and it's going to work the same way, both in Blazor Server and Blazor WebAssembly.
Wow.
Under the hood, it's going to go like call an API endpoint for WebAssembly, or for a Blazor is going to run on the server side. But it's all like hidden behind, the interfaces and different implementations for you.
Well, that sounds good. I mean, anything that will give me some sort of guidance and assistance in either making those decisions, which it sounds like it's not a guidance wizard, but, help me with the plumbing of implementing those things, which are always changing and always moving and have different requirements. That's good.
Yeah, because there are so many different ways of, doing security and authentication specifically. We can't just, put it all in, right?
Yeah, sure.
You basically, ASP.NET Core is specifically just allows you to like add one line, like add, Facebook authentication, Google authentication, Microsoft. So that's just, one line that you add, and you should be good to go.
But I got to think of, when you're talking about a typical app for Xomega, it's an internal app, right? And replacing an old ASP.web Forms app or things like that. Like, they're going to have an internal authentication strategy you're going to need to support.
Right. Yeah.
It's probably not going to be Google or Facebook, I'm betting.
Yeah, it's going to be some SSO if it's a big company, but
yeah, it's going to be Active Directory, or
could be Google or Facebook. You never know.
Pretty sure.
It could be Microsoft authentication, might be there.
You haven't met my customers, Richard.
I guess that's true.
Sometimes you just need something, to authenticate. So password and username, and like ASP.NET identity will be fine, just to get started.
Sure.
Yeah. Then it's always a question of how much challenge it is to retrofit a new security profile in. After the fact. But if I'm living in generators, it shouldn't be that hard, right? I should just be able to indicate the few changes and then regenerate, and hopefully all the good things happen.
Right.
It's a big leap of faith for your average programmer that loves to write code.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm no longer writing code, though.
Yeah, I'm no longer writing code. I'm learning the ins and outs of this model generator designer thing.
Yeah, but the best thing, I guess, is you are able to go and change the model, and you just keep iterating, and you regenerate the whole thing. It just makes so much easier to program and, build these applications.
And a lot less prone to bugs, I would think, right? You
would hope.
I mean, bugs get introduced when you do something over here, but not over here, or you do things a little bit differently in a couple of places, and, or you duplicate work.
Yes.
And those are some of the fallacies that, pitfalls that .NET developers in general fall into.
Yes. And this is basically the consistency that we provide, because, and this is like the core thing, on the framework level, on the model level, you can define like logical types, like, for example, user type, and, just describe, the validation rules for it, the conversion, the list of possible values, and use it like everywhere. So it's going to have the consistent user experience across all the screens wherever you use the same type or the same data property.
And you know what? This is a good time for a break, I think. So let's take a break, and we'll be right back after these very important messages. And we're back. This is .NET Rocks. I'm Carl Franklin. That's my buddy Richard Campbell.
Hey.
And we're talking to Serge Sarafudinov about Xomega.net. And Richard, I believe the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm thinking about greenfield doesn't happen very often. that, and I really like the particular scenario and something you mentioned in your documentation too about I have an existing ASP.NET Web Forms app. People have asked for changes to it. I didn't write that code. I'm scared to death of this thing. Like, now, can I make changes to it through something like Xomega and have fewer problems?
Yeah. So normally, if you have an old legacy web forms application, you're probably thinking of upgrading it to the ASP.NET Core and Blazor and the latest tech. So we help you do that. You can rewrite some of the modules or some of the screens using Xomega, like generate it. And because we make you write code that is basically platform independent.
Right.
It's just, it doesn't matter like what communication framework you're using, then you can expose your services as whatever, either like use them in process internally or expose as REST API, gRPC, whatever you want. Or even like the presentation logic that you write is basically, it doesn't have any dependencies on the UI framework.
Right.
It's basically like MVVM, like model view models.
Yeah.
But it's like on steroids, you know, because it allows you to describe all your logic in there, all the presentation, like the data elements, you know, the way they're calculated, the way they format their values for display, for internal storage, the way the validation rules, you know, everything about your UI, you know, what views and forms in the view model you have. And then you just have a thin layer of the actual UI view that you just bind to your view model, and you get, you know, a working screen.
Nice.
So
are we talking about rebuilding the existing app through Xomega, or are we able to actually add to the existing app?
You can add, you know, like, because we support web forms applications,
right?
You can generate stuff for web forms. Like if you want to add like new screens with web forms using Xomega, then those will be automatically structured and architectured in such a way that you can migrate them easily to any new tech.
And I can point Xomega at the existing data store that the existing ASP to Web Forms app is using, and it'll build a model for me from that.
Right.
And then I can go and build it. So I'm thinking, like, that's just giving me, it would be fun to take this out for a spin on an existing ASP.WebForms app where they've asked me to add a new section to it. And just pick the model up and go from there and see if I can get to a place that makes sense without having to touch the existing code, because that's what scares people, right? It's just a way to avoid that. And then the other side of this is then I could start refactoring and rebuilding some of the older existing stuff into Xomega. And at some point when I got the whole thing across, I could say, would you like to see a Blazor version of this?
Right.
That's interesting to me, because no dead drops, right? I can add any features that are demanding right now, and I can make improvements here and there, and bit by bit remediate an old application.
Yes. And it's similar to what Microsoft, I guess, is pushing right now, like with the migration path from web forms to Blazor, where you run some screens, you know, like they get rendered with the old technology, and some new screens are rendered with the new Blazor technology. But it's still...
It's just always a question of, are you always in an operable state, right? Like you can make some changes and you can introduce them to folks and have them take it out for a spin. And they're not like, what is this? As opposed to, I go away for 6 months, build a huge thing that everybody hates.
Right.
That's what scares me, is all too often, you know, they get caught on a rewrite and nobody sees it until it's done, until the budget's burned. Right. And now you're in trouble.
Right.
I'm just trying to stay out of trouble. I'm not saying I'm good at it. I'm just trying. I'm only trying.
Yeah.
All right. What about like testing infrastructure, like all of those kinds of things? Do you bother with any of that? Or is the code you generate so good it doesn't need to be tested?
Well, you can use any testing framework with it. You can even add generators that would generate unit tests.
Right.
I mean, it's basically as long as the model has that information and the data, enough data to derive, what tests need to be there. And because we already have the model has tons of information. It has the service model, it has the domain model, and it has some presentation model. So it's able to generate all the code. So there is no reason it cannot generate unit tests for those as well.
What's the preferred backend storage model? Like I see you support Postgres. Is it all RDBMS? Could I switch this to a mode where it's just writing into blobs?
So yeah, we use Entity Framework Core, and I guess whatever backend providers it has would be supported.
Now I got to go quickly look up to see if they still support XML as a store. I don't know that it's a good idea, but I'm just saying that would amuse me.
Probably not actively supporting yet, but
no. Azure SQL, SQLite, MySQL, Postgres, and Cosmos DB.
Right. I mean, some vendors might have their own providers,
sure, there's third party,
whatever. So whatever. In terms of the domain model, we use Entity Framework Core.
Right.
We also have support for the legacy Entity Framework 6, EF6, but it's kind of going away. But, you can use as much of it as you want. You can generate the services and then provide your own implementations to do whatever data store you want.
Yeah. Well, and there's all the third party. Like you can go into Oracle if you hate yourself, right? You can DB2, Interbase. Look, here's a provider for storing tables in files because I'm looking for bad performance. I don't know the answer to that. It's probably unfair. It'd be interesting to try it, honestly, just to see whether. Oh boy, there's an access provider. There you go.
But you can even go with NoSQL databases like Mongo.
Mongo supported, absolutely, yeah.
It's a wonderful NoSQL database solution that I've been using lately. It's called JSON.
You and me both. That's what Run-As lives on, JSON.
Yeah, us too, yeah.
Yeah, no question. But when you think about one of the powers of these generators is to attack questions like that. Is to say, hey, what if we switch to we're paying a license fee for this database? What would it take to try some of the other ones? So you go down the EF core list and say, well, which one should we grab? And let's just try something that doesn't have a license on it. Does it? What difference does it make?
Well, you know what? All that could be solved if you use the repository pattern. Do you use the repository pattern, Sergey?
Well, the repository is basically with the Entity Framework Core. So if whatever you do with the Entity Framework Core, if you switch the provider from one database to another.
But there are things that EF doesn't support, right? So the trick is to have your interface that has all the CRUD operations on it and then create an EF repository.
Repository is kind of part of the clean architecture. I mean, I'm still yet to see people switching the databases much.
I'm describing something probably nobody does.
That's not true. I do.
But
I start with in-memory databases, and then I switch to any framework or back and forth between that and Dapper, or if I wanted to do it all with JSON files, I could swap that out. Yeah.
It's definitely creating a low barrier of entry to experimenting with different data stores, if that became a concern of you. What about
That's true, yeah.
Containers?
That's crazy talk, Richard.
Containers, they're supported just as part of the general, architecture, because you just build your solution and, build Docker containers and you can deploy them. That's
so just part of the CI/CD pipeline. The Xomega gets to the build stage, essentially pushes the code, kicks off a build process, and if in that build process you're deploying out to containers, fine, you're not going to interfere with that.
Right? Yeah, you just do your own CI/CD process,
and so your architecture is already very much about state outside of the object. So you're not going to get any nasty traps that inexperienced container people run into.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I hope. Because we'll find out fast if you didn't. Where stuff gets stored matters for sure. That's always part and parcel of the problem. But I do think one of the things we like with a generator is providing people with the ability to do rapid choice, that we could look at a Blazor implementation of something, both WebAssembly or server, and say, what do we think? What's the feel like? That to me is very interesting. That mm-hmm. You're not doing a big multi-week spike to try and test something like this. The generator would do a lot of that work for you.
Yes, the generator and the architecture we use. In some of the videos, we show how you can build the same application with Blazor Server, WebAssembly, and you can't even tell, from the look of it, which architecture it uses under the hood. But it looks exactly the same.
Now I'd want to experiment with, now the client's remote and it's through a narrow pipe or something highly latent, right? And just see, can you feel the difference on that? But the fact that it'd be easy to do that testing. You call a TypeScript implementation a SPA. What SPA libraries are you using?
Well, that was kind of an old framework back in like maybe 10 years ago or so, when we had only like the web form support. And then I realized that, it's going away. And Microsoft was pushing for MVC, actively. They were saying like, oh, don't you worry. It's just an alternative way of doing it. Web forms is going to be alive and well, but, and
there's still plenty of web forms people out there today, right? Like, it's not like that thing's going away, but they're definitely on standard framework.
Right. So, and I didn't see much difference with MVC. So I didn't jump on the bandwagon here. Right. Cause in the web forms, we use OWIN, with the middleware and dependency injection. So all the latest stuff.
Right.
So it didn't feel like, MVC was much different at the time. So we started looking around and everybody was building SPAs. So we thought what can we do to massage Xomega to make it build a SPA? And there were tons of different JavaScript frameworks around back then. And the most popular ones in the .NET community were Knockout.
Yeah. Steve Sanderson.
Yes. So, and Durandal by Rob Eisenberg.
Rob Eisenberg. Yeah, no kidding. Yep. Those were the history is history, right? Today you may talk about React and Angular and the other one. Jeez, the name just jumped out of my head.
Vue.
And Vue. Yeah, that's sort of the big ones right now. But back then, Knockout was the way.
So, we did pick the Knockout because it was pretty closed in terms of how Xomega framework was working and the MVVM paradigm. So it had observables and everything. And we built the Xomega JS framework with a TypeScript-based framework for that. But then, it kind of got stale. The Knockout, got stale. Rob left for Google and then started his own Aurelia.
Yeah, then went to Aurelia, the nature of JavaScript frameworks. But
so we were left stranded again, So I was thinking about building an Angular version like Xomega NG.
Yeah. I can't imagine that's not what the customers want. The customers want Blazor.
Yeah. Then came out this, amazing technology from Blazor.
Yeah.
And I looked at who stands behind it, and then look what it is, like Steve Sanderson.
Yeah, the same people, right? No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I think you put your time in the right place. Like, it doesn't make sense to do this now if you're gonna go down that path. You only have so many hours to work on code. Better to add features on the Blazor side than to worry about, I'm not going to say legacy, but other, I don't know, the SPA is that hip anymore. Lots of people got work in it. No two ways about it. And goodness knows Angular certainly had deep penetration in a lot of places, as has React, but I don't know that would be your focus. It doesn't make sense, really.
And that was actually a perfect fit for our platform, because Xomega framework was built in C#.
Yeah.
And all the UI stuff, you can reuse all this power of view models we had. So it just plugged right in. And the architecture where we have the business services separated from the presentation logic, that also played well with going from Blazor server to the Blazor WebAssembly, because people don't realize that, now you need an API layer,
Yeah.
Now you cannot split out, your business services.
How much can I split up those services to let them scale independently if the app gets big and busy?
You can, the generators allow you to output to different projects. So you can build different kind of services. If you want some services to be more scalable, then you may split it up into a separate project and then basically have it run a lot of copies of it. Whereas admin screens, that are only used by
yeah, you don't need to do that. And I'm dancing against the monolith versus the microservice sort of mindset, but and we're hip to modular monoliths. That's been a good conversation I've done at Rocks lately.
Absolutely.
So, and that's why I asked the question exactly that way. It's not that I want service-oriented architecture. It's not that I want microservices. It's that I got a problem child, and I want to put it in a can so that I can scale it separately from everything else.
Yes, exactly.
I don't want a problem child factory.
Yeah, so that's the answer to the question is yes, make it its own project. Now it runs on it. It can be called by the other projects and you can scale it however you want.
Mm-hmm.
What about mobile clients? Making stuff for iOS and Android.
Yeah, we actually have a generator for XAML and WPF.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite possible to use to go to MAUI.
Yeah.
We kind of skipped on the Xamarin and Xamarin Forms there. But you can pretty easily just use Blazor, as you guys have discussed numerous times.
You can make a mobile client out of Blazor.
Just, do the hybrid Blazor for mobile for now. And we may even provide a template for a MAUI app using a hybrid Blazor just to get started on the
I appreciate that.
Apps.
Yeah, that'd be good. I would think it would be very difficult to keep up with, or it has been certainly in the past, to keep up with Microsoft on MAUI, XAML features and things.
What's the Xomega framework? I see it here on GitHub.
Yeah, so this is the framework that powers the applications that we generate. Basically, it allows you to write this presentation logic that is platform agnostic. It's independent of the Vue framework. So it's kind of MVVM on steroids. Mm-hmm. With the classic MVVM, you have these I notified property changes, and each property is just a value, right? Holder. In Xomega framework, a data property represents both the value and the metadata, whether it's editable, whether it's visible, required, the validation rules associated with it, the conversion rules to different formats, the list of possible values that are allowed. So you build this property, as a kind of big collective, reusable item. And then you just bind your control in whatever framework it is, whether it's a XAML control or user control in web forms or Blazor control or whatever. You just bind it, you tell it, here's the property, and it reflects, takes everything from the property. So basically, all your coding is encapsulated in the platform-independent presentation logic.
Nice.
And
And
this is great.
yeah, why be open source on that? Because you've also got a retail component to this project as well, right?
yes, and the best thing, you can bind any controls to your properties. Like you build your view models, and then you can build your views with regular controls that we provide. But then you want to switch to Syncfusion, for example. We partnered with Syncfusion.
Right.
You just bind Syncfusion controls to this very same properties, and it just works out of the box. You don't need to do anything. So you don't have the vendor lock-in. You can, just switch and swap any component library.
That's cool.
Yeah,
so there's
great.
a free product that's totally usable, a basic?
Yeah, we have a basic license that is kind of a community license on Visual Studio. Yeah.
What are the requirements for that?
Just the Visual Studio 2022, the latest.
I mean, is there any one single person use, that kind of thing?
Yeah, single person. Like you can order your own license, and you can renew. Like when the new version comes in, you can get a new version.
Right.
So we're looking for feedback and looking for directions, because you can do a lot of stuff with it. You can develop it in a lot of different directions, add various features. So we're looking for the directions from the market.
Yeah, sure.
So it's the big difference between that and the full license, which is about $800, the generator source that you get.
Right.
And in unlimited perpetual license kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I only have to buy this once. I don't buy it annually.
You buy it for the specific version.
I see. Okay.
Or the minor upgrades, obviously.
You also talk about model enrichment in the custom generators. What is that?
So we have the structure of the model defined, but then you may want to add your own elements to it. Define, things that you want to capture in the model, and then be able to use that in your own generators or customize the existing generators to use the additional data in the model to produce the code the way you want it.
I see.
And you're thinking in terms of like, if I'm a bigger organization where we have a sort of standards of the way we want things to look, I can build up custom generators so that everybody using it sort of goes down that path.
Right. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. That's
very good.
It's smart. I also feel like that modeling piece is something I'd probably sit with the domain expert, with the principal knowledge person and work the model with them. It'd be probably a lot more approachable than doing it on whiteboards and Excel spreadsheets and things. Actually, let's just go through the model together and see if we get to a good place.
Yeah, if you watch some of the videos that I had, it's such a quick process from model to a working prototype.
At least a prototype.
You can see like right away what the screen is going to look like. Then you tweak something, you go regenerate, all the artifacts, and then you get an updated screen,
I watched some of the video and I saw a tree view. Is that the main designer, a tree view structure, or do you have other UI designers that you use for different parts of it?
The tree view, you mean the XML?
Yeah, the XML view, yeah.
Yeah, the XML is basically the main designer right now. We'd love to have like the more graphical designer where you can just be able to easily like, like in entity data model. Remember these... there was a designer at Microsoft where you can like
add things and link things together and whatnot.
Yeah. So would love to build something like that. We just haven't gotten around to it. But the XML, the editor actually has been enhanced. Yeah, you can like collapse the definitions, so you don't need to like view this convoluted XML. Like you can just expand the sections that you're interested in.
Yeah.
You can go to definitions, find references to refactoring, all this stuff. So that's basically, I mean, people are used to editing XML, like you go to, or HTML, you go to Blazor, you go to XAML,
Are you taking pull requests? Do you have issues that do you need help, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Oh, yeah. If someone is interested in contributing and helping with that, we'd be all happy to get these contributions.
Wow, as Louis Armstrong once said, what a wonderful world. It really is. The wonderful world of open source. Well, is there anything that we missed, Sergey? Anything that you want to, or a shout out or a call to action before we hang up?
Well, yeah, as I said, if you find it interesting and if you want to learn more about it, you can go to Xomega.net website and check out the documentation, the videos. We keep adding new videos to it. Keep adding features, as it says. We just added the PostgreSQL
cool
support.
Yeah.
By popular request. Give it a spin. And we always want to hear your feedback. And what do you think? What do you think would benefit? Any ideas, features, and any contributions are always welcome.
That's great. Sergey, thank you. This is good stuff. And sorry that we hadn't noticed it earlier. This is good. And I hope our listeners think the same. I'm sure they will. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay. And we'll talk to you next time on .NET Rocks. .NET Rocks is brought to you by Franklin's Net and produced by Plop Studios, a full-service audio, video, and post-production facility located physically in New London, Connecticut, and of course in the cloud. Online at pwop.com. Visit our website at dotnetrocks.com for RSS feeds, downloads, mobile apps, comments, and access to the full archives going back to show number 1, recorded in September 2002. And make sure you check out our sponsors. They keep us in business. Now go write some code. See you next time.